Welcome to TOMMO'S Race CHINWAG, your favourite Formula 1 podcast produced by a British biased bloke with a massive Swede full of very questionable wheel knowledge. Broadcast live on YouTube and after the fact on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We have a good old natter about each and every Grand Prix of the season. My name's Tommo, let's talk about it. Alright then, shall we get into it? It's only 1 AM here in the UK. I will try my best to survive through this one without falling asleep. My name's Tommo. Welcome to my post-race CHINWAG for the 2025 Mexico City Grand Prix with different colours going on in the background. If you are here live on YouTube watching the video version of this, let me know. Are the background colours too much? I would have my normal pink, but I inadvertently changed something on the light and I can't find the remote because it's a long story. We're living in limbo at the moment between houses. And so it's either this or super flashy crazy lights or no light. So let me know in the chat. Is it fine? Is it good? Is it Rainbow Road? Rainbow Road's kind of a good vibe. We'll keep it for the minute. And if you lot start to shout at me in the chat, then we'll turn it off. Welcome everyone. Let's talk about the 2025 Mexico City Grand Prix, shall we? This one was chaotic. I've already put in the YouTube live chat a poll, race rating out of 10. Ones I've given 6 or below, 7, 8, 9 or above, and currently 42% of you have given this an 8 out of 10, 35% of you have given it a 7, 14% a 6 or below, 9% of you have given this a 9 or above. This is one where it could have been really good, and many things in it were very interesting. There's a lot to talk about, which is such an L for me because it is 1 AM. The clocks have just changed in the UK. They literally changed yesterday. And I'm probably going to be talking until about 3 AM because there is so much to cover, but also I might not make it. So we're going to do our best here to get through. We're going to progress, push through, and welcome everyone, all the Americans, all the Australians, all of the Asians, all of the basically every region apart from Europe who is here watching live because everyone else should be in bed, which is exactly where I should be, exactly where Hannah and Minton are as well. 2 AM in Poland. Need to get to Poland, man. I would love to go to Poland one day. Definitely going to make that happen at some point. But yes, let's get into it. Race rating out of 10. You lot. It's kind of averaging out at about a 7.5. And for me, I give it a 7. Frustrating at times. Some of the race direction had me pulling my hair out. Okay. It was honestly doing my head in. The VSC at the end, very, very, very frustrating. Robbed us of 2 what would have been quality battles for very important positions as well. However, a lot went on. There's a lot to go into. As much as a lot of it wasn't racing stuff, and it's still, again, discussing people cutting corners and should they have got penalties, should they have not got penalties, which is not the kind of stuff that gets me up in the morning, you know what I mean? I want to see proper wheel-to-wheel scrapping, and we did see a little bit from, like, Ocon and Albon for, like, one move, but other than that, it was a lot of pushing and shoving, which is kind of interesting, kind of annoying. I think 7's fine. I think 7 is very legit, genuine, happy with that. Happy with a 7 out of 10, and by your measurement, that isn't too crazy, right? That isn't too out there. So you're not going to shout at me. It's far too early in the morning, technically late at night, early in the morning to be shouted at by the internet. Don't want that. But 7's harsh, maybe Dawood, but it's just, you know, not all of the exciting stuff was like racing exciting stuff. You know, it's like annoying exciting stuff. But 7 out of 10. I was happy with that. Generally speaking, I had a fun time watching this race. It certainly gauged a lot of reaction in the household at the moment. George Russell's radio meltdown was absolutely hilarious. We've got so much to talk about. So, you know what? Maybe I should have given this from a content point of view, it's 10 out of 10 race, right? But as an F1 fan, 7 out of 10. I'm happy with that. So, let's start, everyone, with qualifying, shall we? Qualifying on Saturday for the 2025 Mexico City Grand Prix. And I tell you what, wow, like, practice was a bit mad when at FP1 we had 9 teams running a rookie. Who was the only team who didn't? Was it Sauber, wasn't it? Because Sauber ran Bortoletto and Hulkenberger. I think they were the only team who didn't run a rookie. on Friday, FP1. Then FP2 came along, and all right, you're thinking Max's race pace was struggling a bit. Oscar seemed to be struggling. Lando looked quick, kind of straight out the gates, even though he missed. He was the McLaren driver to miss FP1, which adds to the impressiveness of Lando's weekend. He didn't even do FP1, right? Quali was tight. These margins were super, super close. Even kind of the Q1 margins were pretty crazy. A lot of drivers very, very close to not making it through. I mean, look, for example, in the end, Yuki Tsunoda P11 in quali behind Max, but was only 2.211 of a second off of Max. So his closest margin, actually, I think, as teammates. But of course, Lando Norris put it on pole with a clutch lap around the Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez. Terrible pronunciation, but sorry about that. But yeah, a clutch lap, 16.5 or something from Lando. Huge. We know that Lando doesn't use deltas, which actually when I used to, in my Forza days that I never talk about, I didn't like using deltas because I would just get distracted and I'd bottle it, basically, by looking at the delta. So no deltas for Lando. Didn't need it. Got the job done. Ahead of Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. Big Saturday for Ferrari. Very, very good. Very impressive. Was not expecting that, because I don't know when to expect anything half decent from Ferrari, to be honest with you. George Russell P4, Max Verstappen P5, Andrea Kimi Antonelli P6, Carlos Sainz P7, Oscar Piastri P8. Ooh. Even though, actually, the gap between those kind of 5 drivers was all pretty close. But Oscar P8, ouch. Helped by Carlos taking a 5th-place grid drop for harpooning Antonelli the weekend prior in Austin. But yeah, not very good from Oscar at all. And then Isaac Hadjar and Ollie Bearman, 3 Q3s in a row for Ollie in his Haas. Could he convert on Sunday? Yes, he could. Yes, he could. Yes, he could. And don't you worry, I've seen a few super chats. Appreciate it. We will get onto the super chats once I've gone through the meat and bones. We talk a bit when split screen. We talk about what's going on screen. And then I go full screen. We do a little bit of super chatting, right? So thank you all for the support. Appreciate it. But yeah, Yuki P11, Esteban P12, Nico 13, Alonso 14, Lawson 15, Bortoletto 16, Albon 17. He's been struggling as a late in quali. Not going to lie. He kind of is. Come on, Alex. You need to put it out, son, please. Gasly P18, Stroll P19, and Franco Colabinto P20. I'll tell you what. This was a weekend for Alpine. And not a good one. Not a good one. Right, so that's how quali went on Saturday. And this means the head-to-heads have changed. But not much, really. Really, not much, actually. 24 or 30 qualifying sessions are done this season. In case you didn't know, I'm keeping tabs on the average gap between teammates rather than just head-to-heads, actually using the average gap. Maybe I should do percentages. Maybe I will do next year because it'll be a bit more accurate, but blah, 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 whatever. All right. This is what they look like after 24 of 30 qualifying sessions, including sprint qualies this year. And changes in position here. So the smallest gap now on average is McLaren. Still advantage Oscar, but by 28 thousandths of a second. So basically a dead heat. Oscar stronger at the start of the year. Lando certainly stronger over recent weekends. Then Sainz Albon, Hulkenberg Bortoletto, Bearman Ocon, Gasly Colapinto, Leclerc Hamilton, Hadjar Lawson, Russell Antonelli, Alonso Stroll, Verstappen Tsunoda. You can see the numbers on the screen now. I won't bore you with the details, but this is just kind of interesting to keep tabs on. And it kind of illustrates the gap at Red Bull is way bigger than any other driver pairing. You've got the Aston Martin and the Mercedes drivers as well with good 0.3 deltas. But other than that, Hadjar Lawson in P4 and Leclerc Hamilton P5 in terms of the difference of gaps is like 10th and a half, so basically 7 of the teams have drivers within a couple of tenths comfortably, right, on average, which is kind of where you want it to be. Antonelli definitely needs to work on that for next season. Although it wasn't so bad this weekend. In fact, Kimi was only 84 thousandths off of George Russell in qualifying was Andrea Kimi Antonelli. So pretty close this time out. Pretty close this time out. But yes, that was qualifying, which then led to the race, didn't it? Today, Lando Norris, dominant, over 30-second margin, winning out front ahead of Charles Leclerc. We will talk about Charles and his turn 1, lap 1 antics. And Max Verstappen's turn 1, lap 1 antics. They were both different, but kind of similar as well. Ollie Bearman, P4, in a Haas. Are you sure? I thought the podium was on. I thought the podium was on, man. That was, oh my goodness, that would have been unbelievable. P4 in the end for Ollie. Oscar Piastri, P5. Could have easily, Leclerc, Verstappen, they could have swapped at the end. Bearman, Piastri, they could have swapped. Although Ollie did say he had loads of battery. So maybe he would have deployed down the straight and kept Oscar at bay. Maybe, maybe not. We'll never know because of the VSC. Antonelli, Russell, P6 and 7. They had their own little stewards, didn't they? Inter-team locking of horns somewhat. I mean, mainly George just absolutely moaning. And oh, that was just so funny to watch. That was so funny to watch, honestly. Top tier from George. Top tier. Whatever you think of George Russell, he's great entertainment, right? And we need him in this sport. Lewis Hamilton, P8, 10-second penalty. Probably would have been on the podium if not for that, and perhaps he shouldn't have even been behind Charles in the first place. Which again, we will talk about that. Don't worry, there's loads to go into. Bortoletto out of nowhere, P10 by the way. Gabby, unbelievable job. Yuki Tsunoda, P11, 12-second pit stop. Not great, not really what you want. Certainly didn't help Yuki's calls. Alex Albon, P12, started on the hards. Fantastic decision there, Williams. That just didn't work, did it, clearly? Hadjar, P13, dropping like a stone at the end. Stroll, P14, contact with Lawson, lap 1, which ended Lawson's race, as you can see. The Alpines running around, talking about Lando's margin, 30 seconds at the front. The Alpines were 30 seconds behind Stroll. Like, absolutely nowhere. Horrific. What is going on? Craziness. And then Sainz, Alonso, Hulkenberg and Lawson did not finish. And, well, Sainz's DNF was weird because I think it's either, it says on Wikipedia hydraulics, and I've not actually seen the post-race interviews with the drivers, which I typically wait for, but I'm not going to wait till 2 a.m. to do this stream. It says hydraulics, and it looks like a weird place to lose it. I'd be surprised if it wasn't a car issue that saw, but I'm sure someone in live chat will correct me. But that's what it says on the old Wikipedia anyway. And then Alonso, very strange circumstances in which he stops, where he lets Stroll past, then does a few drifts around the slow speed, and then just pulls it in. And apparently his brakes were done, but I don't know. Maybe he was just having fun. Maybe he just pulled the car in and was like, I don't really fancy doing it anymore. Like I said, there's a lot to go into. There is a lot to talk about from this Grand Prix. Wow. Again, great content. Great content Grand Prix, this one. Just so annoying, that VSC at the end, mate. So annoying. So annoying. I'm not over it. I'm not over it. But anyway, that's the race result. And this is how it affects the driver standings first and foremost. We have a new leader of this championship by 1 point, a singular point. Lando Norris 357, Oscar Piastri 356. I wonder if Oscar now being behind might change his mentality and mindset a little bit, because things are not going well for him right now. He needs to find something, but Lando has put himself in prime position. He is the on-form McLaren driver without any shadow of doubt. But Max is still there. 36 points. Max has cut his gap to the leader from 40 to 36. However, with the momentum, it feels like actually Lando is the more threatening driver to Max in terms of winning this Drivers' Championship. So yes, as you say, J-Pro, it is heating up. It is absolutely heating up. Other big movers, of course, Oliver Bearman, 32 points on the board, moves up to P13 in the driver standings. I think he was 17 or 18 before this. I can't remember. But yeah, look at how many drivers there. Tsunoda, Ocon, Lawson, Stroll, Bearman, all split by 4 points. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. It's kind of mad. So that's something. Colapinto still yet to score a point. And I tell you what, in this Alpine, as it is right now, there's no chance he's going to win. Alpine have not just thrown in the towel. They've thrown in the towel, the hand towel, the bathrobe, any kind of garment, they've thrown it in. Because they were absolutely nowhere today. It was honestly awful. But yeah, driver standings don't really matter ultimately. But the constructors, every position does matter. Of course, McLaren have already won this, 713 points now. Ferrari, Mercedes, 356 to 355, split by just 1 point. And then Red Bull, 346, so only 10 points behind Ferrari in P2. So that's tight. Williams, they'll be fine. 111. They've got P5. That's not changing. But then Racing Bulls P6, 72 points. Aston Martin, P7, 69 points. Nice. Haas, now P8, jumps Sauber with 62 points. Double point score for Bearman and Ocon. And then Sauber, P9, 60 points. 12 points between Racing Bulls P6 and Sauber P9. I thought Haas were gone from this, to be honest. But with upgrades they've introduced throughout the season, because they know they've got a fight on, and it might hinder them a bit for 26. Sauber, Haas, Aston Martin, Racing Bulls. But these positions are important to these smaller teams. Wow. Big. 12 points between Racing Bulls and Sauber. That's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. And having learned more about the importance of, these positions to these teams, not just, it's people's bonuses. It's big prize money, right? 10, 12, 15, whatever the figure is, $1 million. Like it's big money to these smaller teams. So this is going to go down to the wire. But yeah, Alpine, we'd have to worry about Alpine. They're definitely lost. Oh, Alpine, what are you like? We need to dissect this. We need to do a serious... Look at how green the background's gone. And then it goes really blue. And then it goes... Again, if it's bothering you... In fact, what I'm going to do a little poll. Right, this is audio only, people. Sorry. Do you like the light? Yes, keep it on, or no, switch it off. You mug. There we go. But let me know what you think of that. Right, there's a bunch of you have given super chats. Very generous. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate it. Thank you, Mauro, for the first one. I sent a super chat without typing anything. Oh, whoops. I wish that there genuinely isn't an option where I can just refund it on here. I wish YouTube would add that. That's silly. But thank you, Mauro. I appreciate the support. I meant to say thank you, Tomo, for a nice time to watch in Thailand. Well, there you go. And hopefully, Thai Grand Prix won't be too far away. We know Alex is helping, and there is a lot of serious talk about having a Grand Prix in Thailand, which would be very cool. Very, very cool. But thank you, Mauro. Appreciate it. Thank you, Eric, as well. In response to the thumbnail, which is why Lando got booed, which is a genuine question. I didn't realise, what's Lando done to get booed? I don't know, but I'm interested to learn, I guess. Thank you, Eric. He got booed due to previous comments he made about Checo in the 2023 season. We Mexicans don't forget. But the booing was worse on Lawson. I mean, of course the booing's worse on Lawson, because he did the finger in Mexico as well, right? Previous comments about Checo in 2023. I don't even know. I'm sure someone in chat will say what that was. I have no idea what that was. But yeah, I mean, fair enough. Comments from 2 years ago just coming back to bite you. If that is the case, then I guess that's just the way it is, isn't it? I do think sometimes as well, booing is something where, it only takes a few people, and then sometimes just the whole crowd thing, especially in the stadium, I can imagine how that would just grow and just people would start booing just because everyone else is booing, you know what I mean? Look, I've said this before about we've talked about booing before in sport, and for me it's always what's the intent behind the boo? The whole Verstappen-Hamilton fight, that was such an intense battle that, I didn't really have an issue personally with, say Lewis getting booed in Zandvoort or Max getting booed in Silverstone, like ignoring the context of the crashes, by the way, just as a general rule, I wouldn't have an issue with that. That's why I don't really get it with Lando, because I'm like, why is he getting booed? Like, I don't really understand why. Like, I didn't think there was a strong connection there. And actually, Max was getting loads of love, which was kind of, I guess, naively maybe I was just like, well, because I imagine the sentiment is more against Red Bull for what's happened with Checo, whereas like Max is just doing what he's doing, right? And he's like driving at an unbelievable level. So you kind of just got to put your hands up with that one. Whereas you can argue that Red Bull didn't handle the Checo situation anywhere near as well as they could have. Although, let's be honest, it's not been handled well since Gasly jumped into that car in 2019, unfortunately. But anyway, thank you, Eric, for explaining one possible reason for that. So thank you, Karthik, as well. No pen for Charles overtaking Lewis off the track. Yes, don't worry. We'll go team by team. I need to dedicate some good time to talking about Ferrari, because there are a lot of things being said online about this Ferrari situation. There's just so much drama. We're going to be here for a while. I mean, it's 22 minutes gone. I'm trying to be concise because I actually do want to go to bed. We will get into it, Karthik, but thank you for your super chat. Don't you worry. Thank you, Lofty, as well. Oscar doing overtakes and being racy means a lot. I mean, it's something. Listen, you got to take what you can. It was difficult for Oscar because he was caught in a bit of a train, wasn't he, for a lot of that Grand Prix, and you don't want to, as much as you were like, come on, Oscar, make the move, like, he was close, and then eventually got it done on George. But yeah, I mean, it is a bit of a quali formula at the minute, and he said, post race, he's like, the car is requiring a slightly different style at the moment for these tracks that Lando's done a better job at adapting to ultimately. So we'll see how that plays out for the rest of the year, but it's not looking good, Brev. Thank you, Blake, for the super chat. Can we all agree to riot in Italy if Ferrari don't do their job and give us a Charles v Max championship? I'm Aussie. I want Oscar to win, but genuinely believe Oscar v Max would be as good as Prost v Senna. Yeah, I mean, obviously, wait. I want Oscar to win, but genuinely believe Oscar versus... Do you not mean, I'm Aussie, I want Oscar to win, but genuinely believe Charles versus Max would be as good as Prost v Senna? I think that's what you've tried to say there, Blake, right? I think I'm right there. Hence why riot in Italy. Even though Piastri is an Italian name, but of course he's an Aussie boy. So, I mean, look, yeah. Charles v Max is the title fight that I want to see more than any other, because I firmly believe they are the two best drivers in F1, which you tell me. If I'm picking between Leclerc and Russell, Russell right now, third. Leclerc's still over Russell for me. It's very close, but Charlie's just got it. He's just got that little bit of star quality that I just... special. But yeah, I mean, please give... we can't keep predicting. I can't predict. Can I predict Ferrari to win in 26? No, but yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Maybe, I don't know. Thank you, Eric, for the super chat. The comment was that he thought he could do a better job. Oh, thank you, Eric, for clarifying what the comment was. Was that he thought he could do a better job in a Red Bull. That could be understood, but his comments, there was a lot of arrogance in diminishing Checo's job. Also, I believe we Mexicans would rather Piastri or Max take the championship. So, yeah, I'll have to... I mean, I'm not going to do it right now on the stream, but feel free to look into it yourself. So, comments basically that... And the thing is, I do think that Lando sometimes is his own worst enemy. Like when he was saying... the comments that Lando made about, was it earlier this year? He was talking about how Max's, again, I can't remember it word for word, but how Max's journey, I guess, having a F1 driver as a dad and the benefits that brought him, yes, that is, of course, that would have helped Max a lot, but also it's not like Lando didn't come from privilege in a millionaire, parents, right? So yeah, that can be a bit tone deaf, or like, it was always easy for Lewis because he had the best car. Like, again, I'm paraphrasing, right? I think Lando talks himself into holes sometimes, and I'm just like, bro, just stop saying these things. And he seems to be doing it like just getting his head down and getting on with it, and just like not the noise. I can only imagine how much the noise can be just so draining to a driver. And I think the more Lando just stop saying these things and just get on with it and just get your head down and don't engage with any of it. Or even if you've got all this chatter online, just ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss. I can tell you that from experience. Ignorance is definitely bliss. But yeah, it is what it is. It was a bit awkward. Like, I did feel for him. Like, he's standing there, he's just won the race, and he's just getting booed. I'm like, oh, ouch, savage. But yes, again, thank you, Eric, for clarifying that. I appreciate it. Thank you for the support. Thank you, Jake, as well, for the super chat. Hi, Tom, a long time listener, first time chatter. Well, welcome, Jake. Appreciate it. It occurred to me that Max may be the first to ever win a title with a 4th place constructor. Madness. Yeah, I mean, look, and if that is the case, if Max can still find a way to win this, 36 points back now, and with 4 Grand Prix and 2 sprint to go, absolutely in his wheelhouse, especially if Oscar can find a bit of form and, the McLaren boys can have a bit of more of a ding-dong. And yeah, it would go to just illustrate the problem at Red Bull and why for far too long now, 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and now 25. This is 7 seasons of that other car being nowhere near, right? It's not good enough. That needs to change. That can't be the case. Like, they can't allow this to continue in 2026 Red Bull. And if Max can win it, I mean, that's still crazy. The fact that he's even got a chance is actually madness. Thank you, Do's Pancakes. Can we talk about how McLaren asked Lando mid-race which tyre Piastri should use to catch up and grab more points from him? Yeah, you know what? When they said the way that Will Joseph worded it, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was like information for the other car. Like, why even add that part? Just ask. Just if you want to know that information, just ask. Oh, so what do you think? Like, if there was a safety car, what would you want to go on? Like, what's your feeling around the compound? I don't know why you'd be like, oh, can just for the other car, can you let us know what's the... It's like, the other car is trying to steal my lunch, That's the enemy right now. I don't want to help him out. That was a bit weird. But again, this is the McLaren way, right? They very ooh-woo, lovely, happy days, which is fine when it works and not so fine if Max steals his title from him. Thank you, Mr. Hoppy. Piastri's Italian for plates. I will hereby call him Oscar Plates. Is it? I mean, I'll trust you on that one, Hoppy. I'll trust you on that one. Appreciate it. Thank you, Amy, as well for the super chat. Lando is the clear favourite now. If he wins one more Grand Prix this season, it's over for Max. And Oscar is struggling. No podium in 3 races. You can say that again. Look, momentum's very much on Lando's side. It's taken him a while, but he seems to have now found a way to get the best out of himself in that car. And Oscar's lack of experience is starting to show, I guess. And all he can do now is hope that, we've got a week off now and before Brazil. We know Lando's quick around Brazil because he put it on pole last year, didn't he? If the heavens open, that's a whole different ball game, and you've got to put Max's chances of winning that sky high if it does rain. But yeah, whew, tough. And thank you 33MV as well for the super chat. Is the 5th title chase dead? Absolutely not. No way. 36 points with 4 races to go, and we're about to go to Sao Paulo. Like, come on. Max has got Sao Paulo win written all over him, especially if it rains. And that the weather, please give us something interesting. Brazil, it always does. It's always a banger in Brazil. Never misses. No, you can't write off Max. Absolutely not. 75% of you think I should keep the light on, so we're going to do that. Democracy wins. Democracy wins. Okay, love it. Right. Shall we get back into bangers and clangers? And then we'll go team by team, okay? Because again, we've got a lot to dissect from this Grand Prix. 31 minutes in. Thank you all for... Actually, if you got this far, drop a like if you're here on YouTube. A comment. What's your favourite of the range of colours we've got going on in the background here? You know, obviously there's a pink bias, rightly so. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Right, okay. Bangers and clangers. Starting with mine. I've given myself 2 out of 5 here. Max race winner, no. Banger drive, Hajar, no. Clanger drive, Piastri, yes. I'm giving myself a point for that. He had a very bad weekend in qualifying. And in the race, could he have done more? Maybe he got caught out at the start as well. And when your teammates pole and you're P8 and now you've lost the championship lead, I think that counts as a clanger relative, okay? So I'm saying that. Racing Bulls banger, no. Williams clanger, yes. As much as Alex and Carlos didn't do themselves any favours, Alex was reporting some car issues in qualifying. Carlos had his pit limiter, so the car was like, that. And then he broke the speed limit because of it. It was a bad weekend for Williams. I'm definitely giving myself a point. And I'm giving myself 2. 2 points. 2 points for me in bangers and clangers. And you get half a point, so I win. Max race winner, no. Colapinto banger drive, no. Lando Norris clanger drive, you deserve minus points for that. Maybe this will be a rule next year. If you vote for a clanger and they have a banger, you get like minus points. Maybe I should introduce that. Banger team Ferrari, I'm going to give you half a point for that. I'm going to give you half because there was some contentious stuff going on at Ferrari. But even then, even if you want to, oh, actually, it's a whole point, Tomo. I don't care because you still got 1 out of 5 and I still won. So have some of that. Have some of that. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. And clanger team McLaren, no. I mean, Lando won by 30 seconds. And, you know, it was the best car on the day. It was the best car on the day. Qualifying was great from Ferrari, but you don't win points on Saturday, do you? And, yeah, I mean, should Ferrari have told Charles to give Lewis the position on lap 1? Maybe. Maybe. But, yeah, either way, I win. So, have some of that. So, shall we do bangers and clangers then? Actual bangers and clangers from the 2025 Mexico City Grand Prix. Starting with banger driver. And for me, I mean, there's only 2 drivers really who stand out as having absolute blinding weekends. Lando Norris misses FP1 because of the mandatory Pato Award rookie test thing. And on pole, comfortably, blinding start as well, which Lando doesn't often have great starts. It is a bit of an Achilles heel for him, but really good off the line. Very rarely do drivers hold on to P1 at Mexico because of the rundown. Just wins by over 30 seconds, goes without saying. Ollie Bearman just sizes up that move. Just, you know, Lewis and George and Max are all having their little ding-dong. Sends it up the inside. Max, no, go on, Max, you stay over there, mate. Yeah, I'm ahead now. Yeah, bye. And just drives off. And we thought the P3 was on for a bit. The belief, the hope was there. 2 blinding weekends from the Brits. The British bias is strong with this one, isn't it? Very strong. But for me, I've given it Lando. The context of the championship to now leapfrog his teammate, to now lead the championship. With the, again, reduced week, like, it's probably his best ever weekend when you factor everything in. How much Oscar's struggling as well, and he just drove off into the distance. Blinding start, kept out of trouble. What more could he have done? What more could he have done? You can say the same about Ollie, absolutely, but I think the championship context gives Lando the dub on this one. Gives Lando the absolute well-deserved dub on this one. But what about you? Well, 1,038 of you voted. Again, thank you for voting. Make sure you subscribe to the TOMMO YouTube channel so you see my community posts and you can get involved in the polls. at Tommo McCluskey on Twitter, at Tommo McCluskey on Instagram as well. And your banger driver for the 2025 Mexico City Grand Prix is Ollie Bearman with 63% of the vote. Well done, Ollie. Well deserved. Both of them deserve it ultimately this weekend, but well in, Ollie. 29% Lando Rice, 5% Max Verstappen. Max? Who? Who's that? Vex Verstappen. You know what I'm talking about. 2% Charles Leclerc. Very good qualifying. Did what he had to do and got away with it in the race. So, game's the game, I suppose. Game is the game. Vex Verstappen on top. Oh dear. You can tell it's 1:35 in the morning. You can absolutely tell it is 1:35 in the morning. All right. So we've given both the Brits their flowers. Plenty of British bias, just as I like to see going on. Perfect. Clanger driver. Who clanged? That. Sorry, championship context. Terrible qualifying. Hurts you big time in the race and didn't make the progress he maybe could have, maybe should have. I've given it Oscar. I've split the room. And I know this is a very Australian-friendly time zone, so this might not be popular, but you got to say he's had a stinker. He's had a stinker. And this is not the first. Hopefully it's the last for him, because I want to see this fight go down to the wire. But as it is going, he's not going to be that close by the end of the season, which is crazy to say. But like, he needs to find whatever he's looking for, he needs to find it. And I'm sorry, Australians, but you got to say he's had a clanger this weekend. He has had an absolute clanger. A bit of recovery in the race, but still finishing behind a Haas. Like, it's not good. Sorry, Oscar, but it is what it is, mate. You take the dubs and you take the L's. It's all part of the journey. All part of the journey. I know Alonso, Science, there was some stinkers left, right and centre as well, but championship, and I could never give it to Albon because the bias is just too much. But he recovered well in the race. Bad quality, but recovered decently in the race, did Alex. But yeah, I've given it Oscar. Sorry about that. And you've given it to Vamos, to Carlos Sainz. 29% of the votes, 22% to Oscar. So pretty significant. 16% to Lewis Hamilton, which I think is, it's harsh. I think, spoiler alert for my thoughts on Lewis's penalty, given where he qualified, given he got 10 second, was pretty harsh, in my opinion. And 7% Lance Stroll, which, okay, I know he hit Lawson at the start, but that was kind of a bit lap one chaos, and Lawson was, I didn't really see Stroll's on board, but I've seen Lawson's on board, where just Stroll just kind of suddenly appears. Oh, and he also hit Colapinto, didn't he? Yeah, okay, I don't know. It was kind of like he hit Colapinto. I don't know what happened first. He hit Colapinto, or squeezed Colapinto, should I say, and then hit Lawson, or the other way around. It's lap one chaos. I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, you've given it Science, and Science did have a bad day, of course. He got, but also the Williams was not working properly, so I think it's kind of harsh. You know, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's the hydraulics that spun the car at the end. But we'll say, I told you Williams would have a terrible reliability. Both drivers reported issues with their cars. Alex on Saturday, Science on Sunday. I called it. I absolutely called it. Williams' reliability is shocking. They are the least reliable car on the grid, I think. But yes, anyway, different bangers and clangers so far. Banger team. I mean, obviously it's Haas, and obviously you agree. 78% if you say Haas. I've gone Haas as well. 11% Ferrari, 9% McLaren. Yeah, I mean, double points. Huge in a constructors context as well. We know that this is so important to these smaller teams, these positions, and where it's so tight now. And Haas kind of found themselves a bit off the back as well, down in P9 prior to this weekend. And then Ollie Bearman brings 12 points home. Esteban Ocon brings 2. That's 14 points, which is a massive haul for a team so far down. So, wonderful. Hasterclass. Any other Haas-related puns? Usually it's a disaster. You know, a catastrophe. Ha ha. Catastrophe. But none of that this weekend. An opposite of that, in fact. A Hasterpiece. A Hasterpiece. Hasterpiece, I like that. Hasterpiece is probably the best one. A fast from Spark. Fast, very fast. It's 1:40 and I'm in a room on my own going fast to 1,000 people on the internet. What does my life come to? Wouldn't change it for a second. Would not change it for a second. So yeah, banger team Haas. We all agree there. And then finally, clanger team. I mean, it's Alpine. And you agree. This was a Haas 2019 level of bad from Alpine. They were, again, 30 seconds behind the next worst car. I don't understand. It's just crazy how they've just completely thrown the towel in. I mean, 2019 or 2021. I tend to think of 2020. I went to Silverstone in 19 and in 21. Did I go in 19? I think I went in. Or did I go in 18? I can't remember, actually. I think maybe I went in 18. I went in 2021, definitely, because I missed the big crash. And it was very visible then how slow the Haas were compared to everyone else as well. You just see everyone go around, and then 30 seconds later, the Haas Schumacher and Mazepin would come around. But either way, 2019. Yeah, 2019 was Williams. That's fair. That's me being harsh on 2019 Haas. Get my law wrong. But either way, Alpine were terrible. Williams 33%, fair. They were also terrible. Aston Martin 10%, not good. 8% Mercedes, yeah, stuck behind a Bearman, you know. Happens to the best of us. So these are the totals over the course of the year. So most banger driver votes for me is Verstappen with 3. Clanger drives is Lawson with 4. Most banger teams for me is Mercedes with 4. And most clangers are Ferrari, Williams and Alpine, all with 3 each. And then for you, your most banger drivers is also Verstappen with 4. Clangers is Lawson with 4. Bangers, McLaren, Mercedes and Haas. You've gone for them 4 times each for banger team. And then clanger team, Ferrari, Alpine, both 4 times apiece. Which kind of tells a story in itself, you know? Kind of tells a story in itself. Yeah, Piastri 2 clangers. I know. Not good, is it? Not good. Not ideal. Right, okay, we've got a bunch more super duper chats, which again, very kind of you. Do very much appreciate it. Also, we've got loads of viewers compared to like recent. I should start doing 1:42 a.m. streams more often, shouldn't I? Thank you, Tay. Shout out to the McLaren pit crew, perfect today. I sense some sarcasm, given Oscar's 3.6 second pit stop was a second worse than George's, which then meant he couldn't undercut. But then also when Antonelli and Piastri came in, McLaren's pit stop was good. So I guess, you know, it goes both ways. But thank you, Tay. Appreciate it. Thank you, Blake, as well. Counting out Max is like betting against Australia in the cricket. It's possible, but it's definitely not a smart choice. And I'd really understand that if I gave a toss about cricket, but I really don't. I know this is like a thing, you know. I've got family. My mum's sister moved to Australia years ago when she was 18 and started her own life. So I've got family who are very Aussie and love their cricket, and they will try and chirp me about it, and I'm like, guys, I don't care. Like, talk to me about F1, talk to me about football, talk to me about golf, you know. Golf, Tom over par. Even though I don't do anything, go and subscribe. So yeah, cool. Yeah. It's like betting against Australia in the cricket. Yeah, great. Love it, Blake. Love it. Thank you, Chronic Nerd. This is your name. I'm not calling you a chronic nerd. This is your name for the New Zealand. Hey, from a Chelmsford girl living in New Zealand. Mad, love it, repping Chelmsford in New Zealand. Are you in Rotorua? Rotorua smells literally, like, because the gas that comes out of the ground. Wellington's great, though. I love Wellington. One of my favourite cities in the world. Lando's ahead in the title fight, but something about Verstappen feels inevitable. Also, Bearman. Bearman repped, didn't he? He repped us proudly today, Chronic Nerd. He repped us proudly today. But yeah, Verstappen, if anyone's going to snatch it, it's Max. Absolutely. Thank you, Jessie, as well. Sat my mum down for a first F1 GP. She definitely has a British bias. Yes. Love it, Mumsy. Get on the British bias. Join us. Loves McLaren Norris and the Sir Lewis Hamilton. Loves the New Zealand, technically founded Team McLaren, and the Belgian mothered Lando Norris. It always comes back to British bias. Thank you, F1 Sammy, as well, for the super chat. If I knew what they were doing, giving science a drive-through. Savage. If in doubt, give him a drive-through. I mean, science beefing with the stewards is just, I like the little bit of, again, there was a little bit of nibble from Antonelli and science. They didn't really agree. I don't know what science was complaining about with the penalty. It's a slam dunk. The penalty, as far as I'm concerned, what happened in Austin, I don't know why he's complaining, but there you go. Thank you, Slider, as well. Cut into the Williams pit crew fist bump. That was so funny. 5-second pit stop. Yeah, sick. That's like back in the Veloce days when we'd do like pit stop. We'd do pit practice and it'd take us like 20 seconds. And we'd be like, yeah, sick job, like with quality. Williams pit crew fist bumping, only for it to be a 5-second pit stop, was peak TV direction. As much as some of the TV direction was appalling, it was a bit unlucky at times. But they'd like cut away just as like there was a battle about to happen. What was the one where they cut to Sainz going onto the dirt into turn one, just as we were about to have a look at an overtake? And then when Verstappen like sent it on Lewis, that was just in the little mini screen. I mean, I get it's a difficult job, but some of it was pretty funny. The radio rewind on this race is going to feed families for generations. It's going to be so good. Right, okay, excellent. Lovely jubbly, happy days. Let's go team by team, shall we? Team by team, because there are many an incident to discuss, but not really at Sauber. So Hulkenberg's car broke down. He was complaining about car issues early doors, tried all the switch changes in the world, but couldn't save the car. Still managed to eke 25 laps, I believe, out of it, but had to retire, which was a shame because he qualified in the top 10. Did Nico? Didn't it? No, he didn't. I'm lying. I'm definitely lying. He qualified like 13th, didn't he? I'm definitely lying. I was talking about last week, where he qualified 8th. And yeah, Gabby did a great job. Got moved done on Hajar towards the end, which was nice. Good wheel to wheel. Good P10. He had a difficult weekend in Austin, so good to see him bounce back. And of course, it's his home Grand Prix in Interlagos, which is going to be good vibes to see what the first Brazilian full-time F1 driver since Felipe Massa. And I don't know is Felipe from Sao Paulo as well, but we know that Bortoleto is from Sao Paulo, so it's his home Grand Prix, like Oscar with Melbourne. It's kind of cool. Love it. Well done, Sauber. Actually, got a point. Pretty decent. Not decent from a constructor's point of view because Haas have jumped you and now you're 9th, which is not so great, but it is what it is. Alpine, wow. It's just so bad. I mean, at least Franco and Gasly are having a little bit of there was a little bit of ding-dong there again this weekend. Like they're running close to each other, which is good for Franco ultimately. We saw obviously Paul Aaron do FP1, but I see no reason why they would drop Colapinto now. I think he's got the crashiness out of his system initially, and now he's actually settled in and he's got good pace relative to Pierre. And I think that's, he brings great finances with him. Obviously, the Mercado Libre yellow all over the livery this weekend. And yeah, I think you if it was me, I'd keep Colapinto and Gasly. See no reason to change, to be honest. Karma for what they did to Jack. Yeah, look, and again, I said it before, I say it again. Was it fair that Jack Doohan got dropped? No. But I think Colapinto has demonstrated first of all, an aptitude, having been at Williams last year and done what he did. And I think they've given him time, and now it's actually, he qualified last, but he was within a couple of tenths of Gasly, and he's had a good run head-to-head versus Gasly over a lap, but also some decent race performances, and it is close. So, yeah, well done Colapinto, well done Pierre. I just feel for them. Like, you just got to get through this year, lads. You got a Mercedes PU next year, so David Sanchez on the chassis, Mercedes PU, maybe. I'm not getting ahead of myself, but maybe something half decent is coming in 2026. I blooming hope so. I absolutely hope so. Great name. Thick Moisty says, my mate actually met Jack Doohan and spoke about him getting dropped. How did your mate go up to him? Jack, how do you start that conversation? Jack, unlucky. I don't know. What would you? That's if I bumped into Jack Doohan, I think that's the last thing I'd bring up. Unless he brought it up, I would not be, entertaining that conversation. I'd be like, are you going to go skinhead again, maybe? Because I've been like, Tommo skinhead. If I do that, I could be bald right now. Look, see? What do you reckon? Should I poll it? I'm not going to poll. I'm not going to poll it. Thank you, Mish, by the way, for the super chat. Bathurst 25 dedicated video reaction when? Maybe in the off season. There's a lot going on at the minute. We do not need bald Tommo. But yes, Alpine. Anyway, see you next year. Right. Okay. First big contentious team to talk about is the Scuderia of Ferrari. So, 4 wide, by the way. 4 wide into turn 1. That's sick. So good. 4 wide into turn 1 was crazy. Loved it. Excellent. Well done, everyone, for mostly making it through unscathed. But, of course, the Ferraris. Now, Charles Leclerc, P2. Lewis Hamilton, P3. Both good starts. Not amazing starts. Lando got an amazing start. But neither of them really got a proper run on Lando. Now, we've talked about this, before, where 3 wide, the guy on the outside, the guy on the inside doesn't really know where the other one is. 4 wide is a whole different kettle of fish, right? So, obviously, I had Lando on the inside. Protecting the inside was the right thing to do in this instance, having had a good start. Max has done that successfully in the past around Mexico. So, defends the inside. You've then got Lewis getting a bit of a slipstream off of Charles, which then allows him to kind of pull alongside, and then Max gets his slipstream and he's on Max's far left. Then it's Charles, then it's Lewis, then it's Lando on the far right, and then not political ideation, by the way, just proximity on the track, just to clarify. And then so you've got Lando next to Lewis, and then they go in. Obviously, Max is on the curb, and that unsettles the car, which then causes it to lock, and he goes straight. And we'll talk about Max later. This is the Ferrari segment. So you've got Lando, Lewis, Charles, and they're kind of going through the corner, them 3, seemingly okay. Like, it's very close between Charles and Lewis. Very close, but they're okay. And then you can watch it back yourselves, right? Different angles. I've not actually seen Charles on board, his own on board, which would be good to see. But we do have plenty of helicopter shots and a good understanding of that incident. And Charles has said post-race, he's like, he had to cut the corner because he was on the dirty side of the track and he wasn't going to make it. And he's like, if I'd have tried to make it, I would have probably, just then understeered through that turn 2 part where you go left and hit Lewis. And, he was like, I needed to cut the corner for my own sake and for Lewis's sake is kind of what he's getting at. Which, I've got to be honest, like, really feels like a stretch. Really, like, it really looks like Charles could have made the corner and just chose to cut it because lap 1, you always get leeway, which always happens. And drivers know this as well. Whereas like Lando and Lewis was giving Lando something to think about. Like he was trying for a little move, and they're taking the corner and they're going through, and then you've got Max as well. And again, we'll get onto that later. We've got Charles just cutting it and just going into the lead. And like, yeah, it's kind of crazy that, I mean, it's one thing for the FIA not to intervene. And to me, it looks pretty clear that Charles could have made the corner and just kind of tried his luck a bit. And he did get away with it. But then for Ferrari to be next to each other, right? As that first stint carried on, and then you had Charles ahead of Lewis. Like, it was very cheeky from Charles, and I do think he should have been told to give the position to Lewis, in my opinion. Even though Lewis wasn't ahead of Charles, they were side by side. But, like, it is very egregious, I think, for Charles to just cut the corner, like, massively. Completely cut the corner. And then just kind of, oh, well, we were side by side and I'm ahead now. Like, I don't know. I just didn't love that. I thought Charles got very, very lucky there. And Lewis got unlucky, ultimately. So, and so you say the word, Tommo, Charles was getting squeezed onto the curb by Lewis if he tried. Was he? I don't know. I've looked at it back, the wood, and I don't agree. Joseph Hamilton was ahead also. Mike, maybe a tiny bit, but like, I don't know. I think the way I see it is that Charles got lucky, and it knew it was lap 1, probably get away with it, and he did get away with it. Now that's one incident in isolation. That's my opinion on it. It then obviously for Lewis's perspective makes it much harder to accept what happened on lap 1 because of then what happened on lap 6, wasn't it? Where first of all Max sends it, dive bombs up the inside, looks like a really good move, but I do think Max was carrying too much speed. They were very much alongside each other, but I do think it's one of them where Lewis was quite happy to fight it back, and where Max obviously pushed Lewis wide, then Lewis was pushing Max wide through the next part, but Max could cut the corner there and just go over the grass. And then obviously Lewis goes back at it, and that almost gave me shades of like 2019 Silverstone, Verstappen, Leclerc, where like Lewis wasn't going to back down, Max wasn't going to back down. They both were going to go at it properly, and that's kind of cool. So like, yeah, Max was carrying too much speed going in, but then Lewis didn't give Max space on the second part. So like, I'm kind of whatever with that. And obviously Lewis gets a better run going into the next turn 4, whatever it is. And is on the outside, locks a brake, and then goes straight. Like, looking at that road where Lewis was apparently meant to go down, like, there's no way you're making that in an F1 car. Like, it looked like half the width of the F1 car, and it's like 90-degree left. So that's not happening. Lewis did, of course, come out significantly further up the road than where he was relative to Max when he chose to bail out, basically. And they said this on the comms. Karun said this on the comms. I was kind of surprised that Ferrari, maybe just to be safe, weren't like just kind of lift off a bit and just let that gap come down. But the problem for Lewis is that even if he wanted to say let Max back through and then have another go, Ollie had got past Max in that sequence, right? Because it was all just chaos, and then Ollie had got past Max. So it's like all of a sudden Bearman's the one in Lewis's rearview mirror, not Verstappen. So yeah, I mean, that kind of made things a bit more complicated, and Lewis got 10 seconds, which if that happens on lap 1, he's not getting 10 seconds, no chance. And because Charles got away with it, I think in my opinion, pretty egregious corner cutting on lap 1, that just makes it harder to stomach from a Lewis point of view, because 10 seconds is a big punishment given how hard it was to overtake and given the fact that Lewis finished down in P7, 8, whatever he was in the end. So yes, it was very, very frustrating race for Lewis, which I can completely understand. I don't really know, again, apart from the team telling him to slow down a bit, but again, it'd been Bearman behind him, not Verstappen. So would he have still got the penalty? Would they have given a 5 second instead? Like, there's, it's unfortunate as well, because Lewis was on it, like, pace wise this weekend. Like, he looked really good. He definitely could have got a podium. But did he get a penalty for leaving the track or not using the... the penalty was for leaving the track and gaining an advantage, wasn't it? Or was it for not following the race director's notes? Because the not following the race director's notes is the not using the slip road. But then I guess they kind of mean the same thing, because he's not followed those instructions, even though those instructions seem... Yeah, he's gaining the advantage. Leaving the track and gaining the advantage, which, again, you can do on lap 1, apparently, but because you can get away with a lot on lap 1. And this is another one where it's like consistent stewards, full-time stewards, would really help, because I think you would, as drivers, you would learn what these stewards individually think is acceptable, and you would be able to, I guess, just have more understanding, because it does feel like lap 1 stuff in particular is so up in the air. Sometimes you won't get punished for the most egregious stuff, and sometimes you do. And it's, if the drivers don't know what rules they're ultimately racing to, because the rules are enforced by the stewards, so you need to understand, right, it's pretty clear to me what steward A, B, C and D are going to say based on this happening or whatever. If you want to be stricter on lap 1 or less strict, whatever, just as long as everyone knows. And it just feels like, I mean, if the drivers don't know, what chance have we got as fans? You know what I mean? What chance do we have as fans? But again, yeah, Ferrari could have asked Charles to give Lewis the position. And Ethan says, do you think if Lewis got ahead of Charles on lap 1 by cutting the corner like Charles did, would Ferrari have asked Lewis to give the position back? I've seen a lot of sentiment, and I understand there's a lot of frustration from Lewis fans here, because it does feel very harsh. It does feel very harsh. I completely get it. But I think they would have done the same if it was the other way round. Like, they've spent so much money on Lewis, and they've annoyed Charles before, and they'll annoy Lewis again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not out of Ferrari's wheelhouse for what we know they're like. So yeah, I think it would have been the same the other way round. And I think that it would have been hard for them to, as much as it was egregious for Charles to cut the corner, Lewis, they were side by side, So yes, Charles gained an advantage because he was the one on the outside and on the dirty side of the track. So Lewis, ultimately, as much as they were side by side, when Charles decided to just, cut the corner and head off into the distance, Lewis had the advantage in that moment and would have held the position, I'm sure, I'm certain would have held the position if Charles decided to keep it on track. So, yes, I guess from that point of view, that's kind of how you would, as Ferrari, justify that to Charles. Be like, look, we think Lewis kind of had you there, basically, and you cut the corner to stay ahead, so give him the position back. And then obviously the butterfly effect from that is that Lewis gets a 10-second penalty and falls back, which is, it is what it is. But otherwise, look, I think Charles did a really good job holding on to those mediums at the end. It's so annoying we didn't get to see him and Max have a little scrap, because, again, I'm a huge proponent of Charles Leclerc's racecraft. I think that would have been a great scrap, and we were robbed of it. And yeah, Lewis his race was done there. So yeah, it is what it is. Turn 1 lap 1. Let's move on. Exactly, Amy. Couldn't have put it better myself. Let's talk about Haas, shall we? Baby Ferrari. I tell you what, unbelievable job, Ollie Bearman. Super opportunistic to just chuck a nose in. I was scared. I was so scared. I was like, like watching it because, you know, the corner where Max shoved Lewis, not Lewis, old habits die hard, where Max shoved Lando off last year in Mexico. And then Max was kind of on the inside of Ollie there, and I was like, Max, don't do it. Don't lunge on Ollie. Don't do it. And he didn't. And Ollie just held on, and he kind of went off a little bit and stayed ahead. But yeah, very opportunistic from Ollie. Took every opportunity that opened to him and held off the Mercedes. That was the most impressive part, right? Because opportunities open up, and he took them. That was great. But being able to hold off George and Kimi was mad impressive. Like, I know it's hard to overtake around Mexico, but geez, like, he did a stellar job. It was a Haas piece, absolutely. And even Ocon P9 as well. Like, look, Ocon's not had a great time of it as of late. Not bad quality, but out-qualified by Bearman again. But yeah, P9, that Haas clearly had pace, and whatever upgrades they've brought to the car have clearly added performance. And, you know, P6 could be on for Haas. It genuinely could. They're P8 right now. They could finish P9. They could finish P6. Huge in the constructors. So very cool to see. Komatsu was chuffed afterwards. You got to if you want some wholesome content, listen to Ollie's interview with, I think it was with Viaplay after, and then he can see his dad and his girlfriend. They're like, his girlfriend's like crying, and then they draw attention to it, and Ollie gets all emotional. It clearly huge day for him. Mexico was his first FP1 out in a Haas F1 car as well, wasn't it? So has a lot of meaning to him. He's driven very well around here. You know, it's a difficult track, isn't it? There's not much downforce. You have Monaco wings, but Monza straight line speed. Like, the air's so thin. It's really tricky on the tyres. And Ollie's just smashed it. Like, this is a big drive, and it's going to make Fred Vasseur very happy, I think. Very, very happy. But yeah, and Ollie's dad was great entertainment when it cut away to him. Yes. I bet he wish he didn't wear that pink polo, because those sweat patches, as a big sweater myself, I can absolutely empathise with them. But he was going through it, wasn't he? He was going through it. It was old day. No, he should run from Ferrari. Do you reckon, Benin? He should run away. Yeah, no, great job, Ollie. And Esteban, P9, can be very happy with that. But yeah, Ollie's had a blinding last few races. Again, 3 Q3s in a row, and delivers big points this time out. So well done, Ollie Bearman. Racing Bulls. Lawson, unlucky. Very unlucky at the start to be hit in the way he was, which destroyed his front wing. He then did another lap. Because I remember, I saw his front wing on that first lap, like, missing. And I was like, okay, well, he's going to pit. And he didn't. And then that led to, which, it's very bad. It's very, very, very bad. We almost had a horrific incident play out at the Mexican Grand Prix. If you've not seen it, go and have a look on Twitter. You'll be able to find it. So now, whether this is because they believed Liam was going to pit or something, because obviously safety car came out. Sorry, not safety car, the waved yellows because of debris. And that debris was from Liam's car because of his front wing that had been mostly destroyed. And you see Liam's on board. He's going into turn 1. And I'm not sure if that's at the end of, I think that's his first lap out of the pits. He goes into turn 1, turns right, and there are 2 marshals in the road running to the right across the track. If Liam approaches that situation a second earlier, maybe 2 seconds earlier, he's got 2 people right in front of him. That could have been really bad. They didn't show it on the broadcast for kind of obvious reasons. and they didn't. Yeah, so they didn't really talk about it on the comms, but it's really bad, really bad, and yeah, that would have been just doesn't even bear thinking about. So yes, not good from that point of view from the race director at all. But unfortunately, these things do happen sometimes, and it's not good enough. But it was almost really bad. But yeah, the rest of the race, Liam retired in the end. They pulled the car in. Didn't bother carrying on with his race that was already lost. Hadjar, I don't really know what happened with Hadjar this Grand Prix, because he didn't qualify amazingly. It wasn't terrible either. Like he did okay, and then he just kind of strategy wise. Oh, he was on hards. Of course he was. Willow. No, he was, wasn't he? I'm pretty sure he was. I'm sure you're right. And the hard tyre was not. There was. I'm sure Colapinto was on the hards as well. Maybe Hadjar was on the hards. Either way, yeah. Strategy not good. Just falling back. Ball out was all over the back of him. On much newer softs at the end. So yeah, not a good weekend for Isaac Hadjar, unfortunately. Because I predicted him to have a banger, and it did not work. And don't remind me that Albon was on hards, because I had no full well Albon was on hards. Oh dear, not a good day. But yeah, is what it is. Not a good weekend for Racing Bulls at all. So fingers crossed for them, they can bounce back next weekend. Right, McLaren. I mean, look, Lando has this kind of performance in him, Lando, I think his biggest strength is his one-lap pace, I'd say. And when he brings it all together, he is unbelievably fast. His lap was top tier on Saturday. And then he had a good start, which again, he's not known for good starts. Has a really good start. Pulls off into the distance and just does the job. Gets the job done. Very good. Very impressive. Exactly what he needs at this point of the season to get things in play. So, Hadjar was on mediums and Lawson was on hards, at least on lap 6. There you go. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what happened with Hadjar. I can't tell you. Because they didn't post the interviews, post-race interviews before I went live. Because it's 2:12 in the morning. I think that's valid. But I'll check after. You should check after as well. But yeah, great day for Lando. Nothing more I can say really. Like, just superb. Probably his best weekend in F1. Given the context of how it happened as well. To be so clutch on Saturday. And then just lead into turn 1. Hold everyone off on the longest run down to turn 1 of any track on the grid. On the calendar is hugely impressive. So, well done, Lando. Big result. Much needed. And it feels like now, if he's in a groove with this car for the rest of the year, Oscar's going to really struggle to beat him. Now, he's turned it around just in time to maybe take this title, which would be huge, huge. Oscar just, again, listening to Oscar, and look, after quali, he was like, he feels okay. He just isn't getting the lap time. And I've seen F1 put together a really good clip, short of like a head-to-head of their laps with, using like an overlay of the cars. And, just Oscar didn't attack the curbs through 1, 2 and 3, quite like Lando did. And lost a bit in the fast speed as well, the S's to Lando. Lando just pushed the brake in a bit more, and all these little things add up. It was a lot of losses. Stella said this. It was a lot of losses over the course of the entire lap that just added up for Oscar. So, they put Lawson on hards when they changed nose cones. Listen, Racing Bulls is just pales into, just disappeared in my mind. I'm sorry. But yeah, like Piastri just wasn't at it on Saturday. And then, in the Grand Prix, look, can understand in his situation being maybe could have been a bit more aggressive into turn 1, but at the same time that can go badly wrong, right? So he should just cut the corner. And then, it's that one, it's fine. I'm kind of joking, but kind of not. And yeah, it's just, he got the moves done when he had the proper chance. There was a few times, so many times I thought he'd get a run on the exit of turn 3 going into turn 4 and he'd just lose the rear. And it was like, he just keeps like lighting up the softs. But he's clearly quick in the race. He clearly had a lot of pace in the race. Impossible to compare his race pace to Lando's because they're in completely different situations. But he clearly had more pace than the cars ahead of him. And again, the late VSC, we didn't get to see him put a move on Bearman. Again, Bearman did say post-race he had loads of battery saved up, so he feels like he could have defended the place anyway. And actually, Ollie was like, which again, maybe he's just gassing himself up because he's had a great result, but he was kind of disappointed because he wanted to show that he could actually hold off Oscar. Which, yeah, maybe. But yeah, not a good weekend. He needs to go away, and it wasn't a good end of the season last year either. And he just needs to find something. If he doesn't find something in Brazil, if he doesn't at least match Lando in Brazil, then I think it's curtains on the championship, which is just mad. But it just goes to show how quickly things can change. And he is still only in his 3rd season. And it's not shown for most of the year. But that just little bit of an experience deficit, now that Lando's worked out the car, it's like Lando's gone from struggling with the car, that's a quick car, clearly struggling to get the best out of himself in it, but he's trending upwards. And it's like Oscar started in the upward place and now he's trending downwards, because it's not like he's just qualifying behind Lando. Like, he qualified 8th. He qualified behind loads of other people as well. So, yeah, he needs to stop the rot quick, because he's only got 4 Grand Prix and 2 sprints to save it. It's not good. Not good at all for young Oscar. Talking of not good, Williams. Carlos good in quali, Alex not so much. Alex okay in the race, recovered, was not happy with the strategy. Again, Alex's sassy radio messages back again. And then Carlos just having a drive-through, speed lane limiter, then hydraulics maybe failed and caused him to spin out. It was a weird accident at the end, which then caused the VSC. And we do seem to now have some clarification as why there was a VSC for Carlos Sainz's spin. So he spun going through the stadium, hit the wall, and then drove back into there was like a little area that he could get the car into that was behind the barriers. Not fully off the track, but mostly off the track. And initially, the only thing, my good friend Matt Amos tweeted this saying, like, if a car on track, a driver gets out of it, undoes their seatbelts, there's an auto VSC, which I could understand. Right, maybe it's triggered an auto VSC. I can't imagine manually VSCing it in that case. But then also we got word that apparently there was a fire or some kind of smoke from the back of the car, and because it was still partially on track and there was some kind of fire reported to the race director, the decision was that double wave yellows through that section wasn't going to suffice, and that it is what it is. They had to VSC it, which sucked, but it is what it is. Echo, Carlos said that the pit limiter issue was caused by the damage on lap 1 crash. Interesting. So, yeah, obviously Carlos probably seen it on the replay where he's going down the pit, like, he's all over the place. And then obviously breaks the speed limit because the pit limiter is not working. And so his engineer's like, don't use the pit limiter. When he does, then he has to serve a drive-through. And, yeah, it was a very, very unlucky weekend. Everything that could have gone, which is exactly what I predicted, by the way. I predicted it. I was like, the Williams car will not be able to live with the thin air, lack of oxygen for these engines, and just it won't be able to do it because they're very unreliable, very unreliable. So yeah, it was tough. It was a tough weekend as an Albon fan, tough weekend as a Williams fan. Of course, I got a lot of love for Williams, but yeah. Not good. I should get a butter sponsor because the amount of times I go butter, yeah. Get the Lurpak on the channel. Lurpak channel sponsor. Make it happen. Someone broker me that deal, please. That'd be great. Ah, dear. Not good, Williams. Right, Mercedes. I mean, they won't be happy having both finished behind. Having both finished behind Ollie Bearman, but the winner of this weekend has to be the Radio Rewind that will, I'm sure, drop on Monday or Tuesday on the F1 YouTube channel. And the amount of sauce George was delegating to us, divvying out to us, it was kind of hilarious. It was kind of funny. It was even funnier because obviously George spent all this time moaning, and you can definitely argue, look, if they'd have let George pass Kimi earlier, he would have had a better chance to make progress and all that. But then it's just funny that when they did eventually ask George to go ahead, he then made no progress and Kimi just kept up with him. So they just swapped positions. George was like, I've got loads more pace, and didn't seemingly have much more pace. Again, maybe he would have if they'd have swapped them straight away. So then in the end, Kimi was like, well, are you going to swap us back then? And they did. And then we missed that as well, They were... That was one of the race direction things, because they were just about to swap places and then it cut to something else. And Crofty and Karun didn't really pick it up. And I was like, they've just swapped. And you can see Antonelli gone ahead and they're not talking about it. I was like, they've just swapped. So eventually they showed the replay and they swapped around. And yeah, George was it some of the highlights? I'm sure he said, I've got a McLaren in my arse. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. I'm pretty sure I'm quoting that verbatim. Or was it an effing McLaren up my... I love if he just said in my arse, rather than up my... Because that's a bit more... I'm pretty sure he said in. Or was it in the second time? He said it twice. Oh, George was dropping some bars on the radio. Give him that. Again, love him or hate him, he is great entertainment. He is, as Aldas would say, he's box office. He's absolute. He definitely said in. Yeah, he definitely did say in. That's the one I found funnier. I've got in my... Oh, George, never change. Never ever change. He won't. Of course he won't. Never change. Just be yourself. I love him for it. I really, really do. Do you want me to let him by? He's in my arse. Sorry, I far too childish, laughing at 2:22 in the morning about George saying there's a McLaren in his arse. Either way, not great. For Mercedes, all in all, not terrible, but it was. They were probably quicker than Ollie, but you needed a big pace advantage to get the move done because of the inefficient DRS, the engine struggling, the dirty air, etc., etc. So it is what it is. Not much to really say. Antonelli did a good. They were pretty close in quali, and they were pretty close in the race. What more can I say? Aston Martin, not so fast and farting this weekend. Pretty bad. And did Alonso actually retire with a brake issue, or did he just bring the car into the pits? Now everyone seems to, on Twitter, everyone's like, oh great, goated Alonso moment, him just retiring the car. Look, if the car was fine, of course Alonso shouldn't be just pulling the car in because he can't be asked. Obviously not. There's a team of 1,000+ people who work on this car. He should do what he can to get the best result out of that car and not just chuck because they've asked him to let Stroll by. It was kind of weird that he let Stroll by it, and then again you'll be able to find the clip on Twitter of him little drift through the kind of slow speed, does a little drift going to the right and a little drift and another right, and it's fine. It's very, very impressive, Fernando, very good, and then just kind of retires the car. So yeah, maybe it was the engine, but maybe he just couldn't be asked and just chucked the towel in. And then for Stroll, caught up with Lawson and Colapinto early doors. Not ideal. it is what it is. It is what it is. Sometimes this Aston Martin is absolutely nowhere. Sometimes it's pretty good, but sometimes it is an absolute dumpster fire. And this weekend, you had the Haas overperforming. The Williams, really, because Carlos qualified in the top. He got to Q3. Williams should have been in a better place this weekend. They had more pace than they showed. Just please give him a car in 26 Aston Martin. Please. Don't let it end like this, because it's just sad. It's just sad. And finally, Red Bull. Obviously Yuki was 0.2 off Max in quali. Not pretty good. I know it's a short lap, but not bad. In the race, they both started on the mediums, which was not the tyre to be on, but they took that pain early. And Yuki was running, in the top 10. 12-second pit stop completely killed his race. He would have been in the points, absolutely, without that. So, Red Bull definitely let him down there. And is there anything more? I mean, he finished P11. Did Yuki? It's kind of a shame, because it felt like actually it was a pretty all-right weekend. But he's not really come away with anything, which is kind of annoying. And obviously the pressure, and Lindblad's doing a really good job in FP1. He was on low fuel. A lot of people were like, oh, Lindblad went quicker than Tsunoda. But they were on different run plans. Yuki wasn't doing the low fuel running that Lindblad was. So it's not one-to-one. But credit to Lindblad, because he didn't crash Max's car and put it within 0.6 of the quickest time. So you got to give him credit for that. But just frustrating one for Yuki, unfortunately, because it was actually pretty solid from Tsunoda. And then, Max just, was struggling through practice, wasn't he? And not a great qualifying. Not a mile off, but they were so tight, that bunch from kind of, 4th down to 8th, really. That move on the outside was ballsy. He went for it. You got to give him credit for that, going for it. And just, at that amount of braking on lap 1, when you've kind of got, the car's a bit cold as well and full of fuel. Just the wheels lock and he just goes. And you watch Max's onboard. Like, he's very close to hitting that wall. But saves it. And actually, to be honest, Max got past George entirely before the braking zone. And then after that happened, he did return to P4. He did fight Lewis a bit for P3, which I was like, you kind of just have to let Lewis have the position, Max, I think. He did end up back in P4. So, yes, Max did cut the corner, but he did return to the place that he should have been, I think. I think he'd earned P4 by that point. And then, gave it back. And like I said, on the move with Lewis, it was aggressive, and he did clatter into Lewis, and that did slow him down because he was going very quick. It is what it is, but it was a very impressive soft stint from Max, helped, of course, by the fact that the car's ahead of him when he came, because he came back out in P8 when he pitted off of the mediums on lap 38. And it was they were asking a lot of him to put that stint in and close up to Charles. He was almost 20 seconds behind Charles when he came out in P8. But then obviously everyone in front of him, so Bearman, Russell, Piastri, they all went for a 2-stopper. So then that allowed Max Clean Air to just pump the laps in and hunt Charles down. And we, again, with that VSC, we were robbed. That would have been such a decent battle. Do I think Charles could have held him off? It would have been he'd have needed to have some battery to hold off Max. But it would have been a corker, because them two wheel to wheel, they got a lot of respect and they really know how each other races. And that would have been a blinder. But the alternative strategy kind of worked for Max this time out. They did well picking the mediums to start with. And Max had a run. Max had a go at trying to lead this race out of turn 1. And maybe he didn't. Maybe he got close. Maybe he didn't get close to pulling it off. But either way, He went for it. So fair play. And yeah, as you say, Willow, I thought Max's strategy was going to land in P8. I was about to fight Red Bull strategy team. But then, yeah, everyone going for the 2-stop definitely really did sort him out. Because for Max to actually make the overtakes, especially with some trains as well, where you had Bearman, Antonelli, Russell, Piastri train, it's hard enough when there's a car ahead of you without DRS and without slipstream. But when they have that as well, it's kind of nigh impossible. But yeah, all in all, I think Max he's closed the gap to the championship leader. It's just the leader has now changed. So it's gone from 40 to 36. Sao Paulo, he's very good. Qatar, McLaren's going to be good there. Vegas, I'd expect the Red Bull to be good at Vegas, and I'd expect it to be good at Abu Dhabi. He's still going to need some luck, but do not write him off. Do not write him off. He is absolutely still within this title fight. No question in my mind. What was wrong with the C4s this week? Yeah, just no one wanted them, did they? It was C2, C4, C5, wasn't it? The range, I want to say, because there was a step again this weekend. But yes, it is what it is. Right, okay. We've been live for 1 hour 32 minutes. Wow. Thank you everyone who's still here from the very start, dedicated to the calls. Anything else we need to talk about from the 2025 Mexico City Grand Prix that I haven't covered? Because a lot went on. A lot went on, didn't it? Williams tried the hard and insta-regretted. Absolutely. My poor boy Alex was given the hard tyre. It was not the tyre to be on. Not the tyre to be on. Get some sleep. I shouldn't have. I need to get this uploaded to Spotify as well and Apple Podcasts and all that after I wrap up. I actually don't feel crazy tired right now. I'm sure it hit me because it is 2:31 in the morning. Yeah, Lando took P1. Yeah, I mean, Lando now leads the Drivers' Championship and the momentum's absolutely on his side, and Oscar needs to find a way to drive this car better. It's just that simple, really, isn't it? And rediscover that form. And it does make you think, earlier on in the season, Oscar was driving exceptionally well, but also Lando was struggling. And now Lando's not struggling. It's like Oscar has started to struggle. Because again, it's not just that Oscar's stayed at the same level. Like, he hasn't. He's now qualifying P8, So it's kind of both have coalesced. And it's like, we want these two lads to be both firing on all cylinders. And Lando is right now. Oscar isn't. And I hope Oscar can find it, because I just want this to go to the wire, because it could be so sick. Oh my God. Hajjal got P1 in Q1. He did. Safe. He did. Absolutely. Constructors' predictions? Who knows? Who blooming knows? Formula Fantasy Hub. I did cover the Marshalls almost being hit by Liam. Yes. I mean, it was just awful that was allowed to happen. But apparently, I think the race director made the call and then rescinded the call, but the Marshalls didn't get the memo, essentially. Because about Liam, obviously Liam pit him for the front wing damage, kind of messed up because he was out of sync with the rest of the cars, hence why that happened, but it's not good enough. Oh yeah, and I guess I've kind of not talked about the booing, have I? Well, I kind of did earlier on, didn't I? Again, I don't really, saying earlier in the stream, there was some, Eric was saying that there was some, comments he made years ago about Checo that maybe have upset some people. I reckon most of it is like a few people booed, and then because you're in a stadium, again, fundamentally it's more like, why are people booing? And I don't really get it, because Lando's done a great job, and I don't think saying something to you, I think that's a bit childish, really. All right, he might have made some comments that weren't great about Checo in 2023, but sorry, Checo wasn't great in 2023. Sorry, it's just the truth. He didn't do a great job in that Red Bull car. No one has since Ricciardo in that other seat. But it is what it is, and many a great has been booed. Many are great, and maybe Lando can get this one, and he won't care a damn bit if he does get this championship over the line, which we will see. Getting closer now. Getting closer. Right. Thank you, Nessie, for the super chat. I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you, Tomo, for the streams. Even if I can't watch them live, I always watch them after. Thank you, Nessie. Thank you to everyone who watches these live or after the fact, wherever you are in the world. There's going to be many of you here who aren't typically on these live because of the time zone. Thank you, Jessica, J Pro, Dawood, Amy, Brandon, Harrow, Guestest, Safe, Pranav, Harrow, Andrew, Eyeglass, Aqua, Brandon, Brian, NK McFrin, Oscar Peroni, Freya McFillan, Mish, Freebird, DK Burton, and the rest of you. Really do appreciate you taking the time. I'm going to wrap this. I'm going to get this uploaded, and then I'm going to go to bed. And then video for Monday. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comments below. I need to think about that, don't I? But yeah. Thank you all. Again, appreciate you all taking the time. My name's Tomo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.